Hey everybody, welcome to Harmon Garage. I'm Aaron, and today we've got a couple projects lined up to do, but as you can see, groundskeeper has gone off to get wrapped. So it's gone, it's off doing its thing, so that leaves me with space and some time to get some of the other parts for that truck ready. So when it comes back, we can start reassembly. We're pretty much at that point. Everything's done on it. We just need to get the rest of the parts cleaned up, painted, repaired, whatever we need to do. And when the truck comes back, we can start putting it back together. So today's first project, I don't know how much I'm gonna be able to get done today, hopefully a lot, but today's first project is gonna be this core support. And just like all the other core supports on these trucks, the battery's on this side and it's routed out. So I could just put the core support back in there, put the overflow reservoir and the battery tray on, and you'd never see this. But it only has 2 of the 3 holes left to mount the inner fender, and it's missing this tab right here for the lower fender mount. So I don't like doing stuff or halfway. I don't want to just clean this up and paint it, stick it back in and say, oh, you're not gonna be able to see it. So I'm gonna fix it. What I'm gonna do is take a template off of this side, and then I should be able to just flip my template over and use it over here. So I'm gonna cut this. I got good clean metal right about here. I'm gonna cut this here, come down to where I got good clean metal, cut it over here. We'll drop down a little bit to get around this edge and then cut it here. And then I'll cut this about here and across here, and we'll put a new piece in there. Is it gonna look 100% original? Hopefully. I'm gonna do my best. But either way, I wanna make sure that we have all the proper mounts there so we can mount everything good and securely. So I'm gonna get set up. I'm gonna get some template material and we'll get started. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna set this on here, and I need to leave excess. Well, I'm gonna have to get a bigger piece. This isn't quite big enough. Okay, so I'm gonna hold this up on here, and I want to make sure that I leave enough excess that I can get my rolled edge here, because we're gonna put that back on also. And so the first thing I want to do is I'm going to mark my holes for my fender mount and my inner fender mount. And then I'll go ahead and trace along this. And I'm going to mark what the shape needs to be, not necessarily where I need to cut it. So alright, and then Okay, so as you can see here, I got my edge, I got my tab where my fender mount's going to be, and then this line down here is this corner. And then I left material on there for my rolled edge, because this rolled edge is what gives us this strength. This is really thin, like 18 or 20 gauge steel, so it's not real thick at all. So we're going to need that strength. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go and rough cut this out and come back and make sure it fits okay on here, and then we'll transfer it over to the other side and trim it down to get what we need. Okay, got my shears here. First thing I'm going to do is just make a rough cut. Make sure I leave more than enough room, and we'll come back and trim it down to the exact size that we need. So what I can do is, when I flip this the opposite way, I'll be able to might have to do some measuring. The two sides might not be the same. But anyways, we're going to line this up here, and they're definitely not the same, but it's going to be close. The holes for the inner fender are just going to be different, which isn't a really big deal, but we'll other than that, it looks pretty close. So I'm going to go ahead and finish trimming this out to the size that we need it for here. And then this will go up here like so. It's going to be our edge, and then this will roll over like that. This will roll over like that. And I shouldn't have cut this off. I wasn't paying attention to what I was doing. I should have left that on there because I'm going to need that. So I'll just know when I trace this onto my other piece that I'm going to need that there. So but that seems to all line up. If I put that right on that corner, this comes even with this end out here. My only issue is my holes are not the same. So we'll mark the two that we have, and then we'll figure the other one out afterwards. So they're way off. If you look on this one, these are way down here. You look on this side, they're here, here, here. So I'll be able to line this up on the inner fender that goes on this side, and we'll be able to find out where that third hole is going to be. So it's not really a big deal. But I've got this pretty close now. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take a piece of metal and trace this onto it and cut it out, and then I'll leave excess, and then when we go to put this on, I'll kind of trim this out and tack it into place where I can without the excess, and then I'll come back through and I'll cut through my new piece of metal and the existing core support, so I get a nice line there, and that we'll be able to weld together. So I'm going to go find a piece of metal this will fit on, and I'm going to transfer that other hole over from the inner fender, and then we'll start making our new piece. Alright, I got my template traced out onto a piece of 16 gauge here. Like I said, that core support's on like about 18 gauge, but this will blend in nice and it'll be a little bit thicker, so it'll hold up better in the long run, because hopefully this truck lasts for a long time. So I've got my notches and everything that I need marked out, and I went through with a punch and marked all 4 of the holes that I'm going to need here. I don't know how well you guys can see that, but I'm going to fire up the bandsaw real quick and get as much of this as I can cut out, and we'll move on. Alright, got that all cut out. Now the next part's going to be a little bit fun, tricky. First thing I'm going to do is drill some pilot holes here. I'm not going to drill them to the size that I want them to be, because I want to make sure that they're going to be right. So I'm going to drill some pilot holes, just small ones, just so we have holes started, and then we can take them up to what we need them to be at later on. So I'll get that done. I'm going to get some other stuff ready, and we'll move on to the next step. Alright. See that all the time, dang foot pedal. Anyways, I got my 4 pilot holes drilled. I'm back here with my template. And like I said, we got this piece here that's going to have to fold over. So it's going to no idea where I was at. Anyways, from this line down, it's going to have to roll, and this over here is going to have to fold up. So you may be wondering why I have this piece of wood sitting here when we're doing metal work. It's not a backer for drilling these holes. I did that on the drill press. We're actually going to make what's called a hammer form. So I'm going to mark on here on the metal where that bend's going to need to be, and then I'm going to take my scissors and I'm going to cut this off, and then trace it onto the wood, and we'll take a jigsaw and cut that shape out of the wood that we need in 2 pieces, and then we'll pinch our piece that we need in between the 2 pieces of wood, and we'll be able to hammer around. It's not really a hammer form, it's kind of just, you'll see when I do it. I'm not too keen on all the terminology and all that kind of stuff, but basically we're making a form and we're going to hammer the metal around it to get the shape that we need. So I'm going to put this up here back where it should be, and we need our piece to be right there. And right about there. So now we know that's where our line's going to run. So once we get it all set up, we'll be able to know where to set our pieces. So we're just going to kind of mark that out. once again, this isn't the final size of this piece. Like, we're gonna end up trimming quite a bit of it off to make it work with the good metal that's still on the core support. But we got that as far as we can go with it for the moment. Now we're gonna take our piece here, and we're gonna trim that lip off. And then right here, this is going to fold up right down here. This corner here is going to be a fold also. So we're going to go ahead and take that piece out. Now, when we go to trace this, we don't need this ear on there. Matter of fact, why not just go ahead and cut it off? Okay, so that's what we're going to need for our form to bend it. So I'm going to take this like so. I'll mark this onto here. And I'm going to come over here, do the same thing. And now we'll get our jigsaw and we'll cut out those two blanks. Alright, before anybody rushes to the comments, I know this is a metal blade, but it's all that I have, and I don't want to run to the store and buy a wood blade just to make these blanks. So I'm going to go slow, let it do its job, and get this cut. Alright, I got my two pieces cut out. I'm going to take them over on the belt sander there and just smooth them out. And then I'll show you guys the next step in making my clamp that I'm making to get this metal bent. Okay, I got my little wizard wheel here with a half worn out piece of 80 grit on it. I've never tried sanding wood with this before, but I mean, sandpaper, I think it'd do okay. But what we're going to do is, the direction that we're going to bend it, we're going to round this edge off. And that way we're getting the rounded edge of the metal like it originally was, versus just trying to force it on this, you know, square. So we force it around the square, it's going to bring it out and really pull it and bring it around. Stretch it really bad, where if we round this edge and kind of let it work around the edge, it's not going to be that bad. So I'm not going to do it a lot, just enough. So first thing I got to do is figure out which way I need to bend this, which is going to be this way. This is going to have to come up, this is going to have to come up. So we need our bend to be gonna have to be on this side. So I'm gonna go ahead and round this corner off and we'll go from there. Okay, I don't know how well you guys can see that, but I got the edge kind of rounded off. Alright, that should be good enough. Now what we're going to do next is we're going to take this, line it up where we need our bend to be. Okay, we got that lined up. Now, I don't want to drill excess holes in this metal. So what I'm going to do is, now that I got that exactly where I want it, I'm going to clamp this on to the wood, and I'm going to drill out these holes that we have to use for the inner fender. And then I'm going to put this piece of wood on there, get it right where we need it, and then I'll drill through all three pieces and we'll bolt it together, and that'll clamp that on there really good. And then we'll be able to hammer our shape into it. I got my holes drilled in it. I got bolts put through it. I got it clamped in the vise. So now this should clamp this pretty good. Now this 16 gauge is fixed up, so it's not going to form very easy, but I'm going to give it my best and see what happens. Okay, as you can see, we got our shape. I'm going to have to do some work on this corner, but that was expected because that's an off radius and a tight corner to get all that done. So I'll get that worked out, and then we got our bend all the way along here. Now I can take this form off this metal and I can come back with my hammer and dolly and fine tune it. So that's what we're going to do. Okay, I got my piece all formed up. I drilled out the larger hole that I'm going to need to put the fender bolt in there. I got it up here and I got it clamped on. Now, you can see my holes for my fenders lined up perfectly. That one we're just going to say is lined up perfectly because it's gone. And the core support behind this piece is flat, perfectly flat, up to this little, I don't know if you guys can see that, but there's like a groove in there. So now that I got that clamped on there, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my cutoff wheel and over here you can see where the rot stops. So I'm going to cut about right here, and that'll be clean good metal. So I'll mark that, and then I'll take my cutoff wheel and I'm just going to make a straight line and go all the way across here and cut that out. Now, the reason I'm doing that is because I know I'll get this piece in there perfectly. If I cut them both together and set it back in that spot, then it's gonna be exactly where it needs to be. So, you might wonder, but aren't you on top of that lip? Yes, I am on top of that lip. But this lip is so rotted away that other than all the way over here on this side, it's good. So it's down where it needs to be. So I can take this lip's actually curled up a little bit still. So once I get this all welded in, I can take and tap that lip back. It's gonna look good. And the most important part is that my holes for my fender, my inner fender mount line up, and they do. So I can take that, cut it right where it is, clamp that piece back in there, pull the welder out, spot it in. We should be good to go. So I'm gonna get the cutoff wheel out. I'll make a line on there so I got something fairly straight to follow. We'll get that thing cut out. Okay. Now I got that cut out. I have to patch in this piece up here that's rusty too. And that actually folds over and spot welds to this bottom piece that I'm putting on. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead and cut this out where it's clean metal. And then I'll weld my new piece on here, and then I'll make a new piece that'll fit into that. So we'll get that cut out, and we can start tacking our piece in. Okay, I got everything cut out, I got everything cleaned up, got the welder over here, got it going. Now I'm gonna go ahead and tack my piece in. I've got some magnets, but they don't really work worth a crap, so I'm gonna try to put one on there to kind of help me hold it. But now keep in mind, when I line this up and cut it, I cut all the way through both. So that's going to mean that in order for this to sit exactly where I need it, I have to leave a cutoff wheel's width in between the blade, or the width of the blade in here, so that it sits right where it needs to sit. So we're going to do that. I'm going to try to hold this and have the magnet on there, and we're going to see what we can do. I got it all packed into place, pretty straight, so I'm just going to go around and take my time, let it cool. It's not going to make a whole lot of difference if it warps a little bit, but I still don't want to warp it. I want to try to get it as straight as I can. So I'm going to turn you guys off for a minute. I'll get this all welded up and I'll bring it back when I get it done. Alright, well, kind of got in one of my zones again and got going and just kept going, and you know, happens to me all the time. But I think it's turning out great. Everything looks lined up really good. I got that new piece in. I went ahead and I showed you guys where I cut that piece that went up onto that roll. I measured to see how big that piece needed to be and how it was going to roll, and I made a new piece for that. And it had to have that 90 in it, so I just measured it, marked where it needed to bend, and I just clamped it in my vise and hammered it over, worked my way down until I got it all bent where I needed it. Got it over here, got it in place, got it tacked in, got it welded up, and really, as far as the fab work goes, we're done. So I'm gonna go ahead and show it to you guys, and then I got a lot of weld grinding to do. So here it is. Got this piece all in. It's all exactly where it's supposed to be compared to the other side. Got this piece all welded in here. Got it all braced down there. And rather than drill holes in it and spot welding it, I just put tacks, which you're not gonna see. I'll clean them up, but you're not gonna see them, and they'll hold just as well as the spot welds would. I went ahead and got some 5/16 nuts and centered them in my holes, welded them on, got this thing welded in all the way around, and time to grind it. So I'm gonna let it cool off for a little bit. It doesn't hurt anything to grind on hot welds, but I prefer not to, just because, just putting more heat in it, and I stick my hands everywhere when I'm doing stuff and I end up burning myself. So the truth is, I just don't want to burn myself. So I'm gonna take a little break, let those cool down a little bit, and then I'll get the grinder over here and start cleaning it up. Alright, I went and ground all the welds down with 80 grit on my little wizard wheel. Now I got 80 grit on my DA. I'm going to go back and just kind of try to blend everything a little bit. I know you guys can see that there's a couple little rust holes left here, stuff like that. And once again, this isn't a full-on restoration, perfect show truck build. If it was, I would have bought a new core support. I wouldn't be fixing this one. We are making the truck nice, but we want to try to keep it, you know, back to its roots. The reason I'm fixing this is because this whole corner was missing, and one of the bolts for the inner fender and the tab to bolt to the outer fender was rusted off. It was gone. So the main reason I'm doing this is to have all our mounting points for everything back. So I'm going to make it look decent, but I'm not going to go over the top and put filler on it and all that kind of stuff. I'm just going to, it's there for structure, not for looks. You're not going to see it anyways, but I'm still going to make it look halfway decent and get it done. All right, got her in primer, cleaned up, primered, just the bare metal. I'm gonna let that sit overnight and set up, and then tomorrow I'll come in and clean the whole core support and get it painted back to black like it was. And I've got a mess to clean up. As I was saying, I'm not taking it to perfection. I'm doing it strictly for structural support, and it's gonna look fine. Like if I was, like I said, if I was doing like a full show truck restoration, I would have bought a new core support, because it's not worth the time and effort that you put into it to make this 100% look stock perfect. Now, you can do it, and if that's what you want to do, if you would rather do it this way than order a new one, or get a new one, or get a different one out of another truck that's not rusted out under the battery tray, but good luck on that. That's fine. You just take it a little bit further. I mean, I would have, you know, kind of hammered and dollied the welds and the panels as I was welding them. I would have took it a little bit further grinding it. I could still straighten this out, put a little bit of filler in it, and smooth it out, but I don't need to. I mean, it's chances of anybody even noticing that I did this ever, very slim. So I wanted to show you guys the process of fixing it, basically how to make that piece so that you have your strength and you have your mounts and all that. And that's what we did. So you can do this same process, take it a little bit further, make it perfect. This is perfect for what I need, and I think it turned out pretty dang good. And yeah, I've got a couple hours in it today, but I just used scrap metal that I had laying around, and it didn't really cost anything. So that's why we did it this way. Trying to find 81, 82 specific core support. Not the easiest. They are out there. You can get them. I'm not saying you can't, but they're not just the easy standard 4 headlight or round headlight one. Like, you just go anywhere and buy one. So that being said, that's going to do it for this video. I appreciate you guys watching. Thank you very much. If you're not subscribed, please do. Next video that I'm going to start filming, probably the day after tomorrow, I'm going to make this bumper look new. It's got a pretty bad ding in it right here. This is all bent, and not bent, but just beat and warped, and I'm gonna have to do some hammering and some welding and some heating and all that kind of stuff. But I'm gonna show you guys how I repair a bumper. So if you want to see that, you're not subscribed, go ahead and hit the subscribe button so you know when I post the video. Give me a comment, let me know what you think. Tell me the good, tell me the bad, tell me whatever you want. But honest day's work, getting stuff done. So if it wasn't for you guys, I wouldn't be able to do this. So y'all have a good one. We'll see you next time.